So good afternoon, everyone. It's Wednesday, June 17th, 2 p.m. and it's time for the next Ekkono Open Fika. Actually, the first one with double digits, since this is the 10th one that we're doing. Today's the topic, sustainable and smart IoT. But before we get started, just some rules of engagement. As always, instructions on how to use the functionality in Zoom. If you have any questions, anything that doesn't work, anything you need assistance with, use the chat window, the chat function, where Eleanor behind the scene can help you and resolve it. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make, then use the Q&A window. And if you actually want to be unmuted and give a verbal comment, which I very much encourage, then raise your hand and we can unmute you and let you in to talk. So let's get started. While it's hard to find something positive to say about the corona situation, one thing is that it shows that we can take drastic global measures and make big changes when we have to. The kind of big changes that is needed for the environment. But while COVID-19 jumped up and slapped us in the face, the environmental situation has gotten worse over time. A reality that can quickly change as we pass the tipping point, where the situation accelerates out of control to the worst. So for our own sake, because our dear Tellus will survive while mankind extincts itself, we need to radically change our behavior. We need to change in a grand way, and we need to do it fast. Something that won't happen only through talk. We have to make it easy to change, motivate the right behavior, make it fun, nudge people. We have to make it easy to do right. But there is certainly hope. The younger generation has much better sense of urgency and are willing to make change. They're even willing to make sacrifice. And they are the ones that will take over and grow into power. They're also better at adopting new technology. And as a technophile, I sincerely believe that new technology will play a central role in this transformation. Internet of Things, or IoT in short, holds a huge potential. By connecting things, product vendors extend the relationship with their products to after they leave the factory. Rather than waving them off at the loading dock, the vendor can see how they feel, are used, how they evolve throughout their life. With Smart IoT, product vendors can go beyond that and beyond just seeing the products and how they behave to actually managing them. With more than 80 billion connected things in a few years, this cannot be done manually. The only way to scale is through automation. Machine learning is the tool for IoT automation and the key technology for Smart IoT. As you probably know, Ekkono provides edge machine learning software that runs onboard the machines, vehicles, and other things to enable them to be smart, self-learning, and predictive. While the traditional machine learning approach is to collect big data from many units over a long time to find common denominators, we cannot turn it around. We learn what's normal for an individual device and when something deviates from that normal. And we learn more and more over time to make it adaptive and more precise. This kind of smart IoT represents an enormous sustainability opportunity. Let me give you an example. Companies that build air conditioners have for decades been perfecting the design to make them as energy efficient as possible. But that doesn't matter if you run the AC at full speed in a room with an open door to a tropical climate. Or if you run the same setting independent, if it's sold to Stockholm or Kuala Lumpur, if it's summer or winter, if people are in the room or not. Using edge machine learning, this air conditioner can learn over time the conditions it operates in and the preferences of the people there. And rather than making the design another 2% more energy efficient, you can actually save 30% energy on how you operate the individual AC. Now look around. Take that times all the millions of ACs in the world, and you see how we not only get a better indoor environment, but also a better global environment. A real butterfly effect. This is why I argue that Smart IoT is the next big sustainability leap. With Smart IoT, you package expertise in software. Not in if-then-else statements, not trying to predict all different scenarios and exceptions in the world, not based on a single sensor threshold, but by interpreting the complex correlation of data from many sensors. And by learning the local and individual conditions that can differ due to climate, culture, every machine being unique, and that customers under-specify requirements, everyday circumstances for global product vendors. The expertise packaged in software can reduce travel significantly. Data and algorithms travel by TCP instead of air. The algorithm generates insights that can take the assessment further and better assist the machine operator on site to resolve the issue, or enable remote maintenance by the vendor, but only when manual expertise is really required. It can extend life length thanks to predictive maintenance that avoids devastating and wearing breakdowns, but at the same time extend the use of every wear part by not relying on blunt MTBF numbers with high safety margins, which reduces pollution from both production and transport. We can reduce energy and fuel consumption and of course emissions through auto-tuning that takes complex combinations like altitude, temperature, utilization, texture, and other things into consideration. And reduce wear by running the product optimally, which extends the product life even further. Another way to extend the life length of a product is by separating hardware and features. Like Tesla uploads new features and enhancements to your car while it's parked in the garage overnight. This makes the vintage of the product less important. Product companies must, just like Tesla, become more data-driven and software-centric. New features are uploaded to the product. Considering Moore's law, you most probably will also have to upgrade the computational hardware to accommodate more advanced features during the life of the product. But that's a design question. IoT enables software updates, and you should design the hardware so that you can easily upgrade the computational platform with a more powerful version in the future. This way, I don't have to throw out a fully functioning car, robomower, or air conditioner just because I want a new feature. This wear and tear mentality will not be socially accepted in the future. At the same time, you create the dream situation for most product companies that are gleaning longingly as they want to transition to a more service-centric and subscription-based business model. So you're welcome. Here's your chance to kill two birds with one stone, which is a terrible expression, by the way. So the automotive industry is talking about ACEs, autonomous, connected, electrification, and sharing, as the key challenges and key opportunities. Think about it, because I think that ACEs applies to most of your industries as well. Electrification is crucial for the environmental impact. Again, we play a central role by enabling individual learning. Properly calculating the individual remaining range for a specific car based on the landscape, climate, road and traffic conditions that it operates in, and how it's normally driven, removes range anxiety. This insight also helps to optimize charging, which extends the remaining useful life of the battery. These are key drivers for electrification. And this kind of smart battery management is enabled by edge machine learning. Sustainability is in our company DNA. What I'm talking about is part of our sustainability program and platform. To put in the effort it takes to build a global startup like Ekkono requires strong incentives. Our incentive and objective is and always has been to do good. This is why we started early on to assess every customer project based on its impact on the UN Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, hoping that if we put this on the agenda of our large corporate customers, then it will trickle down to the rest of the organization. And that's why we invest resources in research on details such as energy efficient machine learning algorithms, which was covered in an open fika a few weeks ago by our data scientist and PhD Eva Garcia-Martin and Lynn Seedal. The same Sustainable Development Goals puts the spotlight on the fact that sustainability is not only about environmental sustainability. It's also about social and economic sustainability, or planet, people, and profits, as it's referred to sometimes. We have the privilege that we don't have to do a trade-off between planet and profits. Smart IoT comes with remarkable business opportunities and benefits. But there are also social benefits. A digital expert in the shape of an algorithm can travel just as quickly to Nigeria as New York. The price per copy is zero, which leaves a lot of flexibility on pricing. This way, you can offer the opportunity to compete on equal terms in both developed and developing countries, which helps goal number 10, reduced inequalities, goal number 8, decent work and economic growth, and goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And safer operations of machinery is another feature that supports goal number 8. So this is not a question of doing a good deed. This is a good opportunity. Most companies are global today, which means that we are impacted by what's happening all around the world, which is why we have to take good care of the world. Never before has the expression think global, act local been more relevant. And with edge machine learning, we enable your products to do just that. So let's wrap up with some conclusions. Sustainability is good for mankind, and it's good for your business. Smart IoT empowers the next big sustainability leap. When you optimize the use of each and every individual device, that makes a difference. It comes with multiple benefits: less emissions and lower energy or fuel consumption, longer product life through less wear from running optimally and avoiding fatal breakdowns through predictive maintenance, extend life of wear parts through better individual utilization instead of using operating hours as a guide. It drives electrification through smart battery management. So all product OEMs must become more data-driven and software-centric. And that starts with separating hardware, computational hardware, and software, and build the intelligence and the features into software. So let me wrap up with the call for action. If you product vendors does everything in your power to optimize the design of your products and add the ability to optimize how each and every individual unit runs optimally, which makes it easy for your customers to make the right decision, then we can really make a difference. This is what we do, what we work with every day of the week. So let us help you. Please reach out and we'll be happy to share how we assess projects from a sustainability perspective in the business understanding phase of the CRISP DM process. So thank you, and look forward to talking more sustainability with you. So let's see if we have any questions or comments from the audience. I have one here from an anonymous saying, a question around production processes in smart factories. As we've understood it, Edge ML will make everything in production processes smarter and more efficient. This could lead to that it will cost less to produce more. Cheaper production processes can lead to cheaper prices, which drives consumption and more things. What is your idea on this from a sustainability perspective? I think it's absolutely right, but I think that a bigger driving force is the society's wish to change, society's enlightenment about an understanding for the fact that we have to change our consumption patterns. But also, I think that another trend we're seeing is that customers request more and more personalized products, independent of what we're talking about, clothes, cars, whatever. With the ability of automating things, we reduce the manual labor cost, which means that you can actually move production closer to the consumer, which means that you have to transport the product a shorter distance. So there are many ways of approaching this. So while production cost might go down, materials cost might go up, and customer requirements might radically change. So I think it's very hard to predict the future, but I'm quite hopeful that we will see a more responsible consumption when we look at customer behavior. So we have another one. How many of your customers are working actively with the Agenda 2030 goals? I think that all of them, since most of our customers are large international corporations, work with the question sustainability. I think most of them consider the Agenda 2030 to be a good guide. I think that about half of them are really using it as a tool and benefiting from the guidance that it provides and the common ground that it creates between vendors and customers and for collaboration. So what I'm basically saying is that there's still room for improvement. I also think that there are other tools that are more and more important. I think that normally the biggest impact on change is when there's money related to it. And I hope that we will see more and more companies reporting in financial terms on the impact the company, the production, distribution, and everything else has on the environment. So I think that we will see a continued change going forward, and I sincerely hope so. Following up on that, could you give an example of a use case you've done where Ekkono has enabled a clear sustainability gain? So we have basically examples of all the use cases I mentioned before. One I really love is the configuration of an engine, where we look at the emission temperature to figure out how to optimize the configuration of the motor, which is a very complex configuration. Manual tuning of that motor takes between 6 and 7 hours. And that's something that's normally done once or twice a year. With machine learning, we can constantly learn and see the performance and the changes in the surrounding environment to accommodate that and in real time optimize the configuration and the tuning of the system to accommodate like weather, seasons, and load and everything else on that motor, which we have seen can do a reduction in more than 5% of NOx emissions. So that's a case that I really like. I also like all the smart battery management cases we are doing, because we are seeing that it has a significant impact on the user experience when you can really get that perspective that is provided by the individual learning on remaining range and the battery health and everything else. So we are seeing that the companies are doing more and more in this area. I am always a bit frustrated over the time it takes to get to live deployment. But that's probably in my entrepreneurial spirit that I should. But at the end of the day, the real value from any feature, any smart feature or product that you develop comes from when you actually launch it to customer. That's when it really generates an added value. So the faster we can get to that point, the better. So I think we're coming up on our time for this session. So unless we have any further questions, let me just inform you about some activities that are coming. So we are approaching the summer vacation period, starting with midsummer here in Sweden on Friday. But before we close the open fika sessions, we're actually going to do one more next week, June 25th at 2 p.m. on the topic of how to enter post-corona running. The topic will be about our experience of how we can help companies drive innovation and do it when they need it the most, which is probably now, that we really take the opportunity of doing a radical change now that we are facing change. So we do it right. So we will share our experiences of best practice for how to expedite innovation and product development. So that's on Thursday, June 25th. All information about these kinds of events you find on our social media, primarily LinkedIn. So go to our LinkedIn page on about Ekkono, and you will find invitations to the events. You will find short white papers, articles, and other things that are happening in the Ekkono world. Of course, also on other social media like Facebook and Twitter, and our website. So without further ado, thank you very much for joining. I hope this was encouraging. I hope that you can embrace it, and that we can all help each other make a better world. Take care of each other. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful summer. Thank you.